So how do you get stuff up onto the web so that other people can see it? Seems like a very basic thing that we ought to take care of early on. Before we deal with getting hypertext up to the web, let's at least talk about how we get files at all up to the web, and we'll move an image file up to my server. And talk a little bit about how you organize files on the server and manipulate them. We're going to be doing this using FTP, File Transfer Protocol, and we're going to use the FTP client that you should already have installed, FileZilla. So let's start with, real quick, just taking a look and seeing, do we have an image we could use? And I will go ahead and pull this image down from Flickr. This is a picture of me, so we'll close this up for the moment. Here we've got the picture of me. Just because I don't want to put it up there bare, I'm going to put it in a new directory, so I'm going to say new folder, because it's Windows, and we'll call the folder pics. And I'm just going to drop this into that folder real quick. So now I have a folder with pics in it. Now to get it up on the server, I need to open up FileZilla. FileZilla has lots of panes, has lots of windows, but the two I'm most interested in are the ones on the left and the ones on the right. The ones on the left is a local site, that is, the things here on my computer, and I can go through and see all the things that happen to be on my computer. Over here is the server, the remote site, and these are where I'm going to be this is where I'm going to be moving the files. So how do I get onto that? Well, I need to tell them what the remote site is. In this case, I'll be moving it to halivay.quicm.net. I have to give them my username for FTP, which is this, and my password, which I'm not going to tell you, but I'm going to try to remember. It goes through a lot of stuff up here to see whether it can get logged on, and if I've given it the right information, then I'll get a list of files here up on my server. Now, what are these? You don't really have to deal with logs. Most web hosts will have some kind of a log directory. Most will have something like this, a mail directory where mail's being kept. Here's a bunch of files which we don't have to deal with. And the www in this case is what's called a web root. Now, this is the root directory. If I put something in this directory right now, it won't show up on the web. For it to show up on the web, it has to go into the root directory. Sometimes this is called www, sometimes this is called public_HTML. Both of those are common names for this. It can be something else, but those are the most common names for the directories that are set up as the root directories. So I already have some things in my root directory. I have an index.html, so if I go to halivay.quicm.net, and don't leave neither a list of directories nor a file name, it will produce this file and deliver it to the user. I have some other things here, some favicons, which we can talk about at a later date. And then I have a couple of folders, blog and private. Let's take a look in the blog one. This is obviously a WordPress install, and it has lots of different things in here, including its own index, in this case index.php, but still its own index file and a number of other things. If I look up here, you'll see that I've gone into, here's the server root for me, here's the root, the web root, www. Now it says I'm in blog, and it gives a list of other folders. So if I need to move through the folders, I can use this tree up here, or I can use the ... to go up by one folder. So if I double click on this, I go up a folder. If I double click on this, I go up a folder. See, I went from here to here and then to www. So now I'm at the web root. So anything I put in here will be published to the web at the root directory. Now there's a couple of ways I can do this. I can find something over on this side and drag it over. That's fine. But I can also just drag it from my desktop, which is what I'm going to do here. And frankly, I do this more often. So I've got a folder with pics in it, and I'm going to just drag it and drop it over here. Down here you see it going up and putting up the things, and when it's all done, you'll see I now have three folders, three directories in here: blog, pics, and private. Okay, let's see if that actually worked. We'll come back here and we'll go to my server, which is halivay.quicm.net. So this is the index.html file. What if I type in me.jpg. No luck. It wasn't found, and the reason is that it's not just me.jpg, it's actually in the directory that I've called pics. me.jpg. And there I am. So now the whole world can see this image because I've uploaded it to my server. That's all there is to it. It's fairly basic, but an important step and one that people get frustrated with, get their files up and up on the server. So real quick, it's also possible to come the other direction. I can drag this off onto the desktop or drag it over here if I wanted to download it. There's one more thing that I'm going to touch on that you don't have to worry about too much right now, and that's the question of permissions. If I right-click this, I can change the file permissions. And eventually we're going to have to deal with changing file permissions when we install software. But basically you tell the server who can read the file, who can write the file, that is change it, and who's able to execute it if it's a program. That doesn't make any sense for an image, but it makes sense if this is a program. So later on we'll come back and talk about that question of how we change permissions. Just as a quick reminder from an earlier video, what happens if I go to alibay.qeicm and leave nothing? It's going to look for index, and in this case there is no index, so it generates a directory. This is usually bad form. Sometimes it will just generate an error form, but in this case it actually shows me a directory of the files in the folder, and that's probably bad news. So I really ought to have an index.html in every folder so that when someone leaves it off, they get something other than this. All right, there's FTP, File Transfer Protocol, in a nutshell. Pretty straightforward. Now that we've managed to get images up to our site, maybe we should try for something a little more textual. See you next time.